morning, everybody. We'll call the meeting to order. Council is conducting this meeting in person and via conference call in accordance with the Municipal Government Act, Section 199. Council chambers is open for public attendance. However, councillors and members of the public may still join meetings remotely using our current teleconference process. Please note this meeting is being recorded and may be uploaded to our website and/or social media. To eliminate background noise, please mute your phone during the meeting. We also ask all attendees to mute their devices to reduce disruptions to the meeting. Everyone has a right to be present at council meetings and council committee meetings. Any attendees that are considered disruptive to the progression of the meeting may be removed at the discretion of the chair, as per the MGA Section 198. We thank you for your cooperation and understanding. And, Deputy Rafe Clausen, do you have eScribe open? Is he able to vote remotely on that? Yes? I just thought of that now.
Through the chair, would depend if he has eScribe open or not.
Deputy Rafe Clausen, do you have?
I can open it.
Okay, perfect. We'll just give you a moment. Well, we can get started. And the agenda is online. All right, I did have it. We have an agenda before us. Does anybody have any, actually, I guess because it's a special council meeting, we'll just do what's on the agenda. A motion to approve the agenda is presented. Councillor Baker.
We approve April 3rd, 2024 special council meeting agenda as presented.
Perfect. And we will move to agenda item 2.1, tax rate bylaw. Oh, yeah, we should vote on that. Yeah, thanks. Takes a team. I'll call the question. Motion is carried. And now we will move to agenda item 2.1.
Morning, Council. Joel here from Administration to present the third reading of the 2024 tax rate bylaw. I'll go walk through some of the supplementary details that were included in the report. As Council is aware, yesterday, April 2nd, the bylaw went through first and second reading, and there were some questions or some requests for some supplementary reserve information. So administration has gone through, and I'll just go through the different sections here, just in summary to explain. So first, what we did is provide a breakdown of the 2024 approved operating budget reserves. So what was provided in the initial package is we give the net reserve impact, which is a drawdown of the 2.1 million that you see there. And so what we wanted to do is supplement that with some details about what that consists of. So we show here the total additions. A lot of these are consistent items. For example, the fire reserves, there's a fire reserve funding policy that directs, based on the assessed values, how much is to be added to the fire reserves annually. The ASB amount is a set value that also gets transferred to the ASB reserve. And some of the other items there, utility charges, for example, that's one that there's a levy collected on utility bills, and those get put in their specific capital accounts. For example, if it's Gleason, it gets put into the utility Gleason reserve account. And so that total there, I should also note that the $1.7 million on the bottom, those are the general reserve transfers that are budgeted for every year, and they kind of get distributed based on the levels and the needs in the various areas, whether it's the recreation reserve or maybe the bridge, roads, and whatnot, kind of gets distributed amongst those. And then to summarize the reserve reductions for operating, we have a couple of the one-time items that has come up frequently in our budget discussions: the broadband, the lodge funding, the potential funding, and then there's a few items there. The right-of-way alignment was a new budget item in the current operating year, and part of the resolution for that was for it to be funded from reserves. So that's coming out of there specifically. The fire allocation is also part of the fire funding policy agreement. Most of that will be for the associations, whether it's their capital share on their capital programs that they're requesting every year, or their operating and small capital items that get sent to the associations. So that's part of, gets pulled out and sent to those organizations. Now, the larger one here that you'll note, the 2.7 million, that's the balancing figure that comes out from the reserves. And it kind of goes, we noted that in the report. This is essentially the part of the strategy that council has chosen, essentially to defer tax revenue with that two-pronged approach to incentivize future growth and relieve present-day pressures on residents. And so what we did as well in forecasting, which I'll go to the next section here for operation projections. I'm going to zoom out a bit. Hopefully that's large enough to see. There we go. His administration then took that same approach, the same table for 2024 budget, and we forecasted a 5-year kind of rolling forward, and that's to be in conjunction with our capital budget because it's a 5-year plan with the capital as well, holding most of those items constant. And then there are the largest change being that operating budget balancing item. We did a conservative projection on even if we just took 50% of the tax growth from known upcoming like non-residential projects and put it towards that it would be reduced essentially to zero over that 5-year period. Again, these projections are very high level, very kind of tentative, but it does kind of show across the 5-year period, keeping in mind with the capital plan, what the reserves could look like over that time frame. Some assumptions that we made within the projections in terms of capital is we used, for all the projects that are set to be reserve funded, we used a 63% kind of total from that. Because that's what our average currently is from the historical 5 years of what we spend versus our budget, right? And so just to make it a little bit more realistic in terms of the reserve drawdown over that period, we used the average actual spend against the projects. We also, I guess, imputed the CCBF, which would be the building fund, and the new LGFF, local government fiscal framework grants, because those are not application-based, they're just provided every year. We assumed the same values as 2024 across the 4 years as well. In the budget itself, we don't usually put those values in years 2 to 5, just because it kind of varies where we can or should apply to them on a year-to-year basis. But for the purposes of projecting, we did include those in there. Something to keep in mind, there are other grants that the county receives frequently that are application-based, and we do well in receiving those. We are pretty successful in applying for STIP grants, for example, Strategic Transportation Infrastructure Program. We often get those for our bridge files. A good example for this year, we have $1.75 million in the hopper. Hopefully gets approved on that. So anything that's application-based, we didn't, just to be conservative with our approach, we didn't include those in our projections as well. And then just to kind of sum it up, we provide a total reserve balance across the 5 years. Again, this is assuming not really any variances in the operating, that everything goes to budget, and there are in actuals variance year to year. It assumes that 63% spend in capital, a conservative estimate on growth for development, like non-residential tax base, It doesn't include any assumptions on future tax rate increases as well, because again, that's to just be a little bit more conservative in that forecasting. And yeah, that concludes kind of a summary of that. Administration is available for any questions.
Any questions regarding the presentation? Councillor Larson.
Okay, so if I understand that right, there's $2,700,000 and change, is what's gonna have to come out of the reserves to balance the budget if we only do a 3% tax increase, correct?
To the chair, that is correct. That's the balancing figure in the
One of
current
the
budget.
questions I had, if we take that money out of reserves, that money is gone from reserves. So what in 5 years, just do a simple 5-year one at the interest rate that we're getting now, what's the future value of that $2,700,000 and whatever dollars in 5 years? Because that's actually the money we've lost, because that money's gone. That's what it will actually cost us to do this. If you have a financial calculator, if I had one, it would take me 2 minutes. So can you give me that number?
Across 5 years, in the 5th year, so.
Yeah, use NS5 and whatever your interest rate is now. Simple punching in numbers.
Yeah. To the chair, I can certainly figure that out in just a couple of minutes.
Okay, cool.
We can take a 5-minute break and give administration time to prepare that. Just confirming, Deputy Reeve Clausen, that you're able to hear us all right?
Yeah, 5 by 5.
Perfect. We'll call the meeting back to order.
Joel again from administration. So through the chair, Councillor Larson's question. Benny, if you use a 3% or 4%, it's between $3.1 and $3.3 million in terms of the 5-year future value of that. So, yeah.
And if we were to take that out 10 years, it would be double that.
Yeah.
That's what it's actually costing us to do this, as opposed to a 4.7%. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions regarding the presentation?
So if I got this right, that graph shows if we continue on a present trend in 5 years, it'll be next to no reserves left of the 54 million.
To the chair. So that, again, this is taking a conservative forecasting forward, not assuming any tax increases over that period, and no changes to the capital plan over that 5-year period, the current 5-year capital period. This would be the kind of the theoretical projected balance of total reserves.
Any other questions?
Now what happened?
I'll move the council approve third and final reading of bylaw 2024-09.
Thank you, Councillor Eichert. Any discussion or debate? Hearing none, I will call the question. Motion is carried. And that concludes our business for this meeting. Thank you, everybody. Meeting is adjourned.